Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports take. Let's go. Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated. I have a very fun episode planned for today, man. This one I've been kind of wanting to do for a while, but given the distance between when the announcement is going to be made, how heated the race was in particular, I just kind of, wanted to wait before I weighed in, but given where we are in the present NBA season, I feel like it's, high time to have the conversation, at least from my perspective. Before I dive into this content, you've already seen the thumbnail, you know exactly what direction we're headed into. But do me a huge favor, like this video. Liking the video helps us cruise along algorithm avenue, helps us get into the presence of individuals just like yourself who might be interested in this kind of content. And also subscribe to the channel. We're on our road to our first 500 subscribers. Excited about, this journey that I've been on with you guys since last May, producing content for this channel, and look forward to taking the journey with you guys beyond as we continue to dive into subject matter surrounding sports, mainly basketball, because it's the sport that I, watch, most heavily. But I'll weigh in on other sports, etc. here and there. But that neither here nor there. I want to get directly into this comment or into this content here. And without further ado, I'm entitling today's episode, "Will the real MVP please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up." So, as you all know, the MVP race is, quite frankly, a two-man race at this point, as far as not just myself, but a lot of people are concerned. That being the two individuals represented here on this thumbnail being Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic, respectfully, of the Oklahoma City Thunder, the number one seeded Oklahoma City Thunder, and the, I believe, number two seeded Denver Nuggets. As I presently, film this episode, those are the standings. Oklahoma City is locked into the number one seed, given the amount of games remaining. I think I read somewhere where they could lose like a game per seed. I mean, a game or every other game or something like that, for the remainder of the season and still finish at number one, which is crazy. But the Denver Nuggets, who in an earlier episode, or rather Oklahoma City, before I move on, obviously led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and then the Denver Nuggets. Man, it's hard to believe that we're at the stage where we are in this season. I remember after about, I don't know, 5-6 games or so, I did this struggle bus episode, which didn't get a lot of traction on the page, whatever. As people complain a lot of times, like, "What are you doing this content about LeBron?" It's like, that's the shit that people want to see, clearly. So I just go with the algorithm. However, I did this struggle bus episode where Denver Nuggets was one of the teams that I spoke about being on the struggle bus early, as they tried to find their footing and get their chemistry together. And they were struggling mightily, being led by three-time MVP, league MVP, Nikola Jokic. They were, just, man, having their struggles. And since they have climbed their way into respectability here in the NBA throughout the course of the season, now we're less than 20 games remain. And the Denver Nuggets have, for the most part, hit their stride. They still have, their quirks here and there. But respectfully, as you've watched them play, they look like they're rounding into championship form. Russell Westbrook has been a good addition to that team. Jamal Murray is finally playing like Jamal Murray. And Aaron Gordon's banged up right now, so in and out of the lineup. So that obviously they still have a lot of things to hope for in terms of that. But that notwithstanding, we're speaking, totally about the Denver Nuggets and their leader being Nikola Jokic, who's involved in this MVP race. Man, Nikola Jokic is having a phenomenal season. I mean, career numbers across the board, which we'll dive into here in just a second. But, again, if you're a basketball fan and you're watching the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Denver Nuggets or both, play, as you're not just relegated to just watch your team, but if you're just a basketball fan in general, the both teams have been televised quite a bit this year, so we've gotten a chance to really take a look at them, which is exciting. And man, this MVP race or case that both Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic is making for themselves is it's just going across in resounding fashion, so to speak. I want to get into the first graphic here because coach of the Denver Nuggets, Mike Malone, made some comments. This graphic I saw posted on YouTube, but via the ESPN NBA page. And Mike Malone weighed in on the MVP race. And, well, he had these comments here, as you can see on the screen. I put player A and player B on paper. He wins the MVP 10 times out of 10. And if you don't think so, I think you guys are full of shit. Wow, Mike Malone not being one known for, or accused of ever holding his tongue. Mike Malone is very outspoken. And whether you agree with his position or not, many agree. I mean, I'll share with you who I think my MVP is or who my MVP choice is based on what we've seen so far toward the end of the video. But whether you agree with Mike or not, I think he makes a good point here. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic's stats are displayed here as well. Presently, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging 32.7 points a game, which he leads the NBA in that category. 5.1 rebounds, 6.2 assists on 37.3% shooting from three. And he's averaging a steal, 1.8 steals per game, tied for second in the NBA. I believe as of today, he's like third. But number one in the West is his team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. And he's played 63 games to this point in the season. I believe maybe 64 now, because I think this graphic was prior to last night's game. Moving over to Nikola Jokic, also represented here on the graphic. He is averaging 28.9 points per game, third in the league. He's averaging 13.0 rebounds, so 13 rebounds a game, third in the league, and 10.5 assists in the NBA, second in the league. So you have the NBA's number one scorer in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander versus the NBA's number three scorer in Nikola Jokic, third in rebounds also, and second in assists on 57.7% field goal percentage, shooting 43% from 3-point. I'm sorry if I skipped over Shai's field goal percentage, but Shai was averaging 52.5% shooting from the field. But 1.8 steals also, so they're both neck and neck there, tied at number two, which I think is very, very significant. And the number two team in the West being the Denver Nuggets as well. Nikola Jokic just played 59 games this season. Man, what a close race between these two young men who's, even with these statistics that are displayed on the screen, man, it's like really, really, really close, even as you look at these numbers in comparison. Let's start with points. Shai being the league leader in scoring so far at nearly 33 points a game, number one. And then you have Nikola Jokic on the other side, nearly averaging 29 points a game. The difference is between 29 and 33, about 4 points, right? So you're like, whoa, yeah, he's a better scorer because his scoring average is higher. Like, yeah, I mean, the math is the math, but okay. The rebounds, in comparison, are not even close. Not even close. Nikola Jokic is averaging 13 rebounds a game, good enough for third in the league so far. And then he assists 6.2 and 10.5, not even close as well. You know what I mean? Just really play to the benefit, I would say, of one Nikola Jokic, who was averaging a triple double in previous seasons. When Nikola Jokic won the MVP, he was like averaging close to a triple double. This year, he's averaging a clear triple double, which is insanity. The field goal percentage is 52.5% for Shai as a jump shooter. Just to put this into context, I always like to apply proper context, but 52.5% from the field for a jump shooter, man, is really impressive. This kid's averaging 53% shooting from the field and he takes a lot of jump shots, even from the outside. You know what I mean? Like relatively higher percentage shots it could be thought of, but to shoot at a 53% clip is crazy, crazy impressive. On the Nikola Jokic side, 57.5%, nearly 58% shooting, essentially from the field. It's crazy work. It's crazy. The math is the math. You know what I'm saying? Let's go 53 to 58. That's 5% more of his shots that he actually makes, which speaks to efficiency. Doesn't shoot as many outside jump shots as Shea, but still to shoot at a very high clip that way, which will stand to reason for someone applying context to be like, come on, bro, he's shooting closer to the basket. Of course, it's like his field goal percentage should, and he's taller. His field goal percentage should be a lot higher, right? Okay, yeah. If you say so. Nikola Jokic is also averaging 43% from the 3 point range. Granted, he does not shoot as many in volume as Shea does at 37.3 percent shooting from three. I think Shea's somewhere slightly above average from the three for NBA players, which is somewhere around 35, 36, typically, season in, season out, across the spectrum. So to be averaging 37.3 with a volume of threes, that he shoots is decent for Shea. But for Jokic, it looks more impressive because he's shooting such a high percentage for such a big fella. You know what I'm saying? So 43%, given that he only shoots about four, like less than five a game, but 43% is still pretty impressive. They both are averaging the same in steals with that 1.8. So just in comparison, as we do this here, they're both effective defensively in that regard. But their teams, the team difference in terms of seeding, I think could possibly tip the scale, in Shea's balance over Jokic, because it's like, well, they're the number one seed. And not only is Oklahoma City the number one seed presently as I record this episode, they have literally been the number one seed from the outset of the season. You know what I mean? Like after you get beyond these teams are still 3-0, this team is still 4-0. They were undefeated for a good like 9 games or something like that, I believe it was, to start the season. And if I remember correctly, and I can be fact checked on that, but they started out, came out the gate, man, smoking hot. And Denver again had their struggles. What's more impressive, to lead the league all season long as the number one seed, or to be sitting in the number two seed after you were, in the basement, literally the basement of the Western Conference because of the early season struggles? And I'm not talking just through the first 4 games. It's carried over into 20 games in, et cetera, man, where it just starts to look really murky until the waters begin to clear up because the Denver Nuggets begin to play a little bit better. So, what side of that argument would you sit on to say, well, they've been clearly dominant because of Shea's leadership all season long and because of his contribution? Or do you say, man, it's very impressive that because of Nikola Jokic's very solid stat line and this triple double, that they've risen to the second best record in the West? I think I'd give the edge to Nikola Jokic in that regard. But I want to get into an article here, uh, and this article from Yahoo Sports is entitled, or actually, it was written by or penned by Vincent Goodwill, senior reporter. And this was just yesterday or Tuesday. Actually, this article was from, so it's a few days old. But why this MVP race is actually fun, and the Celtics Cavaliers Classic seems inevitable. But I want to focus on just the MVP portion of this article. So let's dive right in. The NBA, the NBA most valuable player hasn't been decided yet the way it should be, with a little over a month left in the regular season. Let's be honest here. There was a point in recent years where the MVP discussion got really toxic, race got involved, and it felt really icky. Not that introducing race, as far as voters' preference, is so insulting, but the entire discussion got away from having great basketball at the center of it all. Luckily, that's not the case between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and three-time MVP Nikola Jokic. Seemingly every night, one of the candidates puts a strong mark in his favor for the award. Jokic's Historic 30-20-20 night against Phoenix on Friday night. Gilgeous-Alexander's 40-piece against Jokic's Nuggets 2 days later. It's becoming appointment viewing in ways these teams usually aren't. Not that they aren't good teams with compelling stories. Not that the Nuggets haven't been worthy champions, still deserving of consideration to get back to the finals this spring, or that Oklahoma City hasn't been building from the ground up the last few years, ready to cash in this year. But Jokic shuns the praise, and Oklahoma City hasn't been great at marketing itself historically. But even now, nobody can deny we are witnessing one of the great MVP races in modern history. Jokic has been the win shares per 48 minutes king, a statistical model that has been the greatest indicator of MVP through history, and is having a career year across the board with the raw numbers. His win shares per 48 minutes are a career high, 0.316, and he's averaging a triple double for the first time in his career. His 28.9 points, a career high. His 10.5 assists, a career high. Ditto for his 43% accuracy from three-point range. He's shooting better from there than Stephen Curry, albeit on lesser volume, but he's taking a career high 4.5 triples per game. Gilgeous-Alexander leads the league in scoring at nearly 33 points and drops in 6.2 assists per game, career highs in both. Sensing a trend here, folks? He's dropped 40 points in 11 games this year, hitting the 50 mark 4 times. He's third in the NBA in steals and gets more than a block a game. And from the guard position, that's entering Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade territory. The Thunder have been wire to wire the best team in the Western Conference in some ways. With all the drama and upheaval in Los Angeles, Dallas, and Golden State, the Thunder have been easy to overlook. Yeah, if you're blind. The Cavaliers are rightly the league's darlings, more on them later, but the Thunder are a mere 1.5 games behind them in overall record at 53-12, a lock to cross the 60-win threshold. Gilgeous-Alexander's two-way play is the catalyst for that, and his win shares per 48 minutes, 0.315. Better than every Jokic season except for this one. Keep in mind, Jokic is 0.316. Shea is 0.315 presently. But 0.315 is better than any of the seasons that Jokic actually won. There's a case being made here. But Jokic's 0.316 is also better than any of the other seasons that he won. Man, Nuggets coach Mike Malone, an entertaining type prone to a bit of hyperbole, stated, "It's not even a close race between the two. That's patently false. You can stick up for your guy without insulting anyone else, and hopefully it doesn't get worse than this. There's no defined criteria for MVP, and it doesn't have to be. It's one of those you know it when you see it type of things. That's what makes it fun. Charles Barkley had the most first place votes in 1990, but finished second to winner Magic Johnson, which meant Jordan, who averaged 33.6 points, 6.9 rebounds, 6.3 assists, and 2.8 steals for a team that went to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals that ensuing May, finished third. Third. The contention from here in 97 is Karl Malone got somewhat of a sympathy vote over Jordan, despite Jordan leading his Bulls to 69 wins. It felt egregious then and still feels that way now. Steve Nash winning 2 in 2004 and 2005 doesn't feel so egregious when you consider the way he played, ushering in a new style with the Phoenix Suns in their 7 seconds or less days, pioneering the game we see today. Shaquille O'Neal is still crowing about, and Kobe Bryant fans feel he was robbed in 2006. He actually finished fourth. So, but time seems to bear out validation from here. You had to be there to understand, and perhaps that's where this year will eventually land. But whomever gets the vote, it'll be because a voter feels the player had the best season and not because it's an indictment of the other candidate. Again, that's fun and thankfully not toxic. So again, that article from yahoosports.com, I just wanted to go through that really quick. And again, it's such a nuanced conversation to have. And, for some people, it's just like really clear and cut and dry. And it's like, man, just give the award to this person over that person. You know what I mean? Like Jokic has already got it. Shea got robbed from it last year. Some feel like I don't necessarily feel that way. I know that Shea did have a phenomenal season last year. Shea's team finished number one in the West last year, also like a half game or so, or a game or so, edging out the Denver Nuggets for the number one seed last year. This year, they are the clear number one seed, though. I mean, like a 10, 11 game lead in seeding this year, and as far as records are concerned, which means that Shea's production has helped his team to a much, much more dominant lead in the Western Conference. Considering that he got robbed last year, maybe this is the year where he should get it. You know what I mean? Like thinking that, he was robbed, or on the premise that he was robbed for last year. There's a compelling case there. I feel like, but man, Jokic's numbers are still just ridiculous. Such a ridiculously high, you know, a triple double to be averaging. He's not out there stat padding just to get the stats. You know what I mean? He's like literally contributing the points at a high volume, the rebounds at a high clip, and also the assists at a high clip. And so, on with the percentages when factored in, it's a very close call. The tipping, point I feel like could possibly be records in terms of the standings. But I feel like if the Denver Nuggets, this is just my opinion, if the Denver Nuggets were not the second seed, then it will probably be like, all right, cool, man. I could personally just be like, it's Shea all the way. But given that Denver is number two now, it's just like, man, it's a close call either way. Let's get into this final graphic. I just want to go into how both teams fared last night. The Oklahoma City took on the Boston Celtics, the defending champion Boston Celtics class of the Eastern Conference, as most people, have it, because they're defending champion, even though the Cleveland Cavaliers are the number one seed in the East and actually the overall number one team record wise in the entire NBA, as that article suggested, with a game and a half lead over Oklahoma City, maybe a 1 game lead now. It's getting still as to that compelling, but Oklahoma City went into Boston last night, man, and handle those boys without Jalen Williams, who's hurt, by the way. Really, really good game, man. But they went in there and took care of business. Shea pitched in 39 minutes, shot 11 of 20 from the field, 2 of 7 from three, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, picked up 3 personal fouls, but he dropped in 34 points in last night's victory over Boston, which was a very solid showing. Like I said, very solid showing of leadership for him to step in. So in MVP fashion, he showed up and got it done. Nikola Jokic's team would face off against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who made great strides in recent games as well. I think they're on like a 7-8 game winning streak or something like that, or have put together a good run here down the stretch to get themselves back in respectability in the runnings here toward, or as we enter the playoff stretch here. But about Denver, Nikola Jokic in that game versus Minnesota last night in 38 minutes, shot 13 of 23 from the field, 2 of 6, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, only 4 assists last night. So Minnesota defense did a great job of kind of containing Nicola's ability to get everybody else involved, but he still pitched in 34 points himself in that game in a losing effort, mind you. So Shea's team with his 34 means more, or that stat line means more, in my opinion, when you're winning. But Nikola Jokic's contribution last night was still on par with his season averages, even though he came in 5 rebounds less and 6 assists less. I mean, this stats from last night I wanted to share just to show, and to give credence to the fact that these fellas are still, man, like out there doing their thing, trying to obviously keep their teams in good standings as we head into the final games of the regular season, um, the final weeks here, about 3.5 weeks or so until the playoffs start. If the edge is given to statistical input that leads to winning, then the MVP is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But it is hard, bro, to to overlook the statistical line of Jokic this year as well. Man, it's a tough call. It's a very, very tough call. Most people say a coin flip, and I think if a coin flip was ever accurately used for any situation such as this, not possession to open a game, not possession to open halftime to determine possession, but for something like this, I don't know how, aside from the things that I've mentioned, one could fairly choose Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over Jokic and vice versa. That's the basis of this episode. Share with me your thoughts. In my opinion, man, I'd give the edge to Nikola Jokic, even though, and it's just because of the strong showing in triple double, you know. But I mean, I don't think that it will be a fight. Like, I wouldn't be upset if Shai was awarded the MVP this year, given, just like I said, that to me, that slight edge and would go to him because of the standings and his team being a dominant team. If they can put together, enough wins here that the regular season sees them as the overall number one team in the entire NBA, then the obvious edge in my mind then would go tipping my hat to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because it would be like they're not just the best team in the West, they're the best team in the league. You know what I'm saying? So again, I wouldn't be mad either way, man. But let me know in the comments what your opinion is on this matter, like how you weigh in and how you rationalize who should get it. I'm curious to hear it because that's just where I am. Obviously, I've just shared my thoughts and my opinions, and you know what I mean, the kind of back and forth that I go through as I watch both players. Shout out to the NBA players in these small markets, like in Oklahoma City and like in Denver, especially in Oklahoma City. I'm excited that Cleveland is doing well as also this year. But shout out to the small market teams, man. I'm hoping that we get. I know the NBA seems to want a script of a a Boston Lakers final. Um, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. I don't think that the Lakers are anywhere near contention. I don't care if LeBron James comes back and plays in tonight's game versus the Bucks. Like, fucking Lakers. But just realistically, man, it's not because I hate the Lakers. I don't like, I hate, or you know what I mean, like love any team in the NBA where it's just like, this is my team, so I'm just gonna talk negatively about them. But I'm rambling. I want to get the fuck out of here. Let me know what your thoughts and your opinions are in the comment section, man. Let's chop it up in there. Let's argue a bit. Let's debate. Share with me your insights more than anything else. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves. Blessings.